Now, I know as you see the title of this video, you think the obvious loot boxes are the reason things went wrong with this game. Loot boxes are, what a lot of people, talk about when it comes to, why you shouldn't touch Battlefront 2. Well, Battlefront 2 is terrible. Loot boxes this, loot boxes that. Well, the answer to, that is yes and no when it comes to, loot box being a factor in why people don't want to play Battlefront 2. But in my opinion, the loot boxes aren't even that big of a deal. Yeah, they suck and they are a pay-to-win aspect, but it's not anywhere near as bad as people make it out to seem. The real issue with this game is more so the idea EA has about multiplayer and single player. Now, this isn't DICE's fault. This suits at EA not understanding or caring about what gamers want or what their developers want with their games. Now, Star Wars Battlefront 2 is not even a bad game, at least not entirely. It's a fun game. Arcade is super fun, multiplayer is great and enjoyable, and like any multiplayer game, it can get boring after a few matches, but that's what any multiplayer, after a while, you're going to get bored at some point. But the single player is basically not worth playing. It's not because it's bad, it's not because it's a terrible thing and DICE should never do single player again. The cutscenes are great, the voice acting is great, the graphics are astonishing, but the plot and the gameplay of the single player is not good. It seems, rushed. It seems like it really isn't much of a care into it. Like they didn't, focus on it at all. Transitions are, are outright just not there, or they're super sped up to just get right to the next part of the game. Everything in this game, in terms of the plot, happens way faster than it needs to. There's no pacing in single player. Everything just happens. And that happens when you have a game that's rushed and when you have a game where they don't care about single player to begin with. Just in general, there's a huge missed opportunity with being able to play on the side of the Empire. There's a segment in the game you play as Luke. Well, it's not what it should be like as a Jedi. What I mean by that is, when you play as a Jedi, think back to, The Force Unleashed. Think back to, the Star Wars movie games that you play, or the Knights of the Republic. Those games like that, when you play as a Jedi, you know what it feels like. It's supposed to feel great. It's supposed to be, feel like you're an overpowered mass. Well, with Luke, you're basically just killing bugs in a typical wait for NPC to finish doing a simple task. Wait 2 rounds, 3 rounds. I'm going to open this door, or whatever, and you just kill bugs over and over again. Now, it starts off fine, though. At the beginning of the mission, you're killing stormtroopers, you're moving around, you're using Luke's abilities to learn how to play as Luke. But then you get to that whole defending segment with the NPC and killing bugs. You notice a flaw in that segment. And really, that's not how a Jedi segment should be played. DICE should have looked at the epic moments of Force Unleashed and copied that. Use that as source material to what you should do in this game when it comes to how the Jedi should play, at least in terms of the story. Multiplayer, a different kind of thing, but when it comes to the story, you shouldn't, put Luke Skywalker, one of the most important characters in the entire series, in a defend the NPC, kill a bunch of bugs kind of segment. It just seems like a waste of time and a missed opportunity when it comes to using someone like Luke Skywalker. But I don't fully put the failure of the single player on DICE. For all I know, DICE may have had other plans. We all know when developers have plans with anything, what you can and what you can't do is dictated by the release date of the game. You got to reach that point. The game post comes out on this date. You can do a delay every now and then, but for the most part, when a company wants a game released on this date, it's going to get released on that date, and you have to make sacrifices and take out things that you don't want to take out, so you can make something shorter than it needs to be, so you can get the main component of the game ready, so it can be shipped out. But for all I know, DICE had better plans for the single player, but EA being EA probably stepped in and told them not to put too much into single player. And this is the same company that shut down a studio because that studio made a single player only Star Wars game. EA doesn't care about single player because you can't put loot boxes and microtransactions into a single player game. So they shut down a studio entirely because that studio did not put a single multiplayer aspect into their game. So of course, when it comes to Battlefront 2, EA is not going to want DICE to focus on single player because EA doesn't like single player. EA can't monetize single player. So that's probably my opinion why I would say DICE probably didn't put a lot of effort into single player because they couldn't. And that's what went wrong with Battlefront 2. Not the loot boxes, but EA's mentality towards single player. EA doesn't view single player as something that generates money. EA only cares about money. And you see that with FIFA Ultimate Team, which brings in $1 billion a year. FIFA Ultimate Team brings in $1 billion a year. That's more than the game itself will make when it sells individual copies. Madden Ultimate Team brings in almost $800 million a year. EA makes more money off microtransactions on just these 2 Ultimate Teams than their entire game sales each year. So they want that money. Because of that, they want their developers to focus on multiplayer. They want their developers to do anything they can to generate a lot of money like their 2 sport games do. So when they get a developer who wants to do single player, they want them to focus less on single player and focus more on multiplayer. And that's how we hear Battlefront 2. Single player, it's not bad, like I said, but it seems like it's half-assed and rushed. And you get that because DICE couldn't focus on it. They couldn't put a lot of time and effort into it. They had to take away their own time to only work on multiplayer so EA can monetize multiplayer more so than spending $60 for the game itself. Which sucks because in reality, most people that see a Star Wars video game, they want to play it because of single player. They don't care about multiplayer, at least not fully. Multiplayer is something that they'll do, after they're done with single player, so they do it to have fun with their friends. But it's not why they are drawn to a Star Wars game. You think of Star Wars, you think of something like Elder Scrolls or Mass Effect, things of that kind of line. So you want to experience a Star Wars game in single player aspect because you didn't have that Battlefront 1. So Battlefront 2, you played it because they told you there's gonna be a single player. That got you hooked. So you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna finally be able to experience a new Star Wars single player in a video game format. And with Battlefront 2, it's just not as good as I believe it could have been had EA not had a hatred towards single player. Because that's what it is. EA has a hatred towards single player. It doesn't generate as much money as multiplayer does, so therefore EA doesn't like it. EA doesn't want to end its game. They only added single player to this game because we the fans wanted it, and DICE, being a good development team, wanted to give fans what we wanted. We wanted single player. So they decided to give it to us. Just EA just like don't focus too much on it. Focus on multiplayer. Same thing kind of like Titanfall 2. Titanfall 1 didn't have a true single player campaign. So Titanfall 2 fans was like, we need to have that. We want a single player campaign in Titanfall. So Respawn gave us that. And EA still, it was kind of short. It was a good single player campaign for Titanfall 2, but it was kind of short because again, EA stepped in. They don't want people to focus too much on single player because it doesn't generate money. They want people to focus on the multiplayer. The same thing here. A decent single player experience that could have been better had EA not had a hatred towards single player games. Now with all that said, that's for this episode of Went Wrong. If any thoughts you have in the comment section below, I have been UTaster Archangel, the real unexpected talent of YouTube. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed. Be kind to one another, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.